The sports betting podcast, you used to know it as the Tailgate Party. I'm Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. Here are 10 facts every NFL bettor must know for Week 15 of betting. Road teams on grass, off of a game in which they were held to single digits and less than 125 yards rushing, are 75, 24, and 3 on grass. This favors New England over Miami. Teams averaging less than 1.7 turnovers per game are 37, 5-1 when they're off of a game as home underdogs, facing a team that averaged at least 12.75 first downs per game. This favors Detroit over Tennessee. Now some key injuries for you. Atlanta Falcons all-world wide receiver Julio Jones, so some people may say he's a little overrated, kind of the Barry Sanders of wide receiver, where he piles up a lot of yards, but then doesn't really get those touchdowns when you need them in the first. But anyway, we'll opine maybe on another podcast. But he is questionable, missed practice on Thursday, also missing practice. Zeke Elliott for the Cowboys. We're going to call him questionable to probable. The tea leaves, though, really say it's more of a precaution that he missed practice, and he'll probably play. Panthers superstar running back Christian McCaffrey is doubtful. Panthers do play Saturday night. Giants quarterback Daniel Jones is questionable. Sources say a slight lean, though, in the probable direction. Redskins running back Antonio Smith and quarterback Alex Smith are both questionable. Bengals running back Joe Mixon remains out. We're going to have more in a moment. You know, at Joe Duffy's Picks, we're 16-8 in the NFL. Back where we belong. Got 3 college football winners for Friday, led by 2 wise guys. A big card Saturday. Sunday, 7 NFL winners. They're all wise guy plays as we build on our run. We could add a couple more since. Again, after that aberration start, all the top sports services are on fire at Joe Duffy's Picks and Master Lockline especially, all at OffshoreInsiders.com. These are the top consensus bets for this weekend in the NFL based on the percentage of bets. So in other words, if you're a contrarian bettor, you believe that the small bettor, the guy who's betting, $5 on a parlay, $10 a bet, whatever, his bets are every bit as valuable for the contrarian purposes as somebody who's betting $1,000 per game. So the top bets in terms of percentage of bets, Cleveland at 73%, Houston at 71%. In terms, though, of the money, the sportsbook liabilities, San Fran is at 95%, Tampa at 89%, and the Rams at 86%. Now, we, at Joe Duffy's Picks, when I weigh the contrarian, we go more towards the bets, but I have heard other people say, and again, they're not mutually exclusive. It's not necessarily one or the other. You can use both and weigh them accordingly, but I've also heard the belief that, look, sports bookies, they always make money. So be rooting for the same sides they're rooting for, and they're rooting for where all the money is, not so much the percentage of bets. But anyway, the top money bets, again, San Fran, Tampa, and the Rams. The biggest line moves in terms of the look-ahead lines to the current line, Tampa opened up at -1.5. They're now up to -6. Rams moved from -13.5 all the way up to -17.5. OffshoreInsiders.com tells us Minnesota went from -6 down to -3. Seattle -3 to -5.5. These have been the best teams to bet on this year based on the margin of cover. Again, margin of cover, how much they're covering by. So, if they're 7-point favorite and they win by 10, the margin of cover would be +3. All right, Miami is 10-3 against the spread, averaging by a league best 7.5 points per game they're covering by. Washington 8-5, covering by an average of 5 points per game. Pittsburgh 8-5 plus 3.5. The best teams to bet against, as measured by ATS margin, the Jets are 4-9, failing to cover by an average of 16.2 points per game. Dallas is 3-10, worst spread record, but their margin is only only quote-unquote -6. LA Chargers and Detroit, both at 6-7. Chargers failing to cover by an average of 5.2 points per game. Detroit by -4. Who are the top over teams? Again, we're basing the rankings on margin. Cleveland's gone over at an 8-5 rate, going over by an average of 6.7 points per game. Tennessee and Las Vegas each going over 9-3-1. Tennessee by 6.3. Vegas by 6.1 points per game. The biggest under teams. The Giants, 3-10 over-under record, going under by an average of 5.3 points per game. Rams, under. Over basically. The over will list first. They're 4-9 over-under record -3.8. And Miami, 5-8 over-under record, going under by an average of 3.2 points per game. If you like information like this, pretty simple. Just please give us a like. If you're on YouTube, we love comments, feedback, retweets. If you're watching on Periscope, I know Periscope's going to be integrated in Wild, but anyway, give us a heart. If you're listening on our podcast on iTunes or anywhere, Stitcher, that allows you to rate us, please give us a 5-star rating and a nice review. We appreciate it. It's your way of telling us you want more information like this, and visit offshoreinsiders.com for the best winning picks.